Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, landing two commitments in the last 30 minutes. One, flipping four-star wide receiver from the Ohio State Buckeyes to Oregon, and Jeremiah McClellan, top 100 national prospect from St. Louis, Missouri. We also got to talk about former Kansas State safety Kobe Savage coming from Kansas State to Oregon in the transfer portal. And in a last couple of weeks where there's so much emphasis in the transfer portal, it's really nice to see Dan Lanning kind of making the best of both worlds, right? You want to get talent to supplement your roster through the transfer portal, but you look at the blueprint of how to go win a national championship, be one of the premier teams in college football. The bulk of your talent needs to come from the high school ranks. Oregon doing a phenomenal job in the transfer portal. Obviously, guys like Dante Moore, Dylan Gabriel, Kobe Savage, but also bringing in a top 8 class in the high school ranks as well. If you're an Oregon fan, you got to be fired up. Want to talk about Jeremiah McClellan, want to talk about Kobe Savage, and just a little bit of an update in terms of what Oregon is doing on the recruiting trail. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. A shout out to the Oregon Duck fans. This has been a program we've loved talking about. Obviously, Dan Lanning has this program going in the right direction, really quickly. You guys have shown a ton of support to the boys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. I have a feeling we might have some more updates, whether it's the high school ranks, transfer portal, in the next couple of days. So appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. And let's start off with Jeremiah McClellan first. And I think a lot of college football fans, if you follow college football as a whole, you know when you flip a commitment at the wide receiver position from the Ohio State Buckeyes, chances are that wide receiver can play some football. And Jeremiah McClellan certainly falls under that category. Checking out the film, this is a guy that we talked about when he committed to Ohio State. 6 foot, 190 pounds, that ideal frame for a wide receiver that can be used in a lot of different ways. When you turn on the high school tape, you see him lined up in the slot. You see him lined up as a boundary wide receiver. You even see him lined up in the backfield, and that's because he's just a versatile offensive weapon, right? The things that kind of stood out to me, one, before you evaluate the football player, you talk about the athlete real quick. An 11.27 100-meter dash time for someone 6 foot pushing on 290 pounds. He has that long speed. He has that track background, but that doesn't really do justice to the quality of football player Jeremiah McClellan is, because the frame and the ball skills, that's probably the best value you have from Jeremiah McClellan. When that football's in the air, like, they're not 50-50 balls. He knows how to go up, make a play on the football. And when it comes to being a weapon after the catch, a skill set that in this Oregon offense is extremely important. Guys like Troy Franklin or Tez Johnson, that's part of his game that I love as well. So you take a look at the frame, the long speed, the ability to be physical after the catch. You're talking about a guy that's 6 foot, 200 pounds, that's running an 11.2 700-meter dash time. And so you turn on the film for a second and Jeremiah McClellan, you kind of understand what we're talking about here. You go full screen, playing that boundary. Ball skills are going to be on display first. Little double move football in the air. We're going to go track it, make a play, come back to it, and then we're going to be after that. You see a little bit of a best of both worlds. I'm going to readjust the football. I'm going to make a play on the football, and then I'm going to be a ball. Full screen here. Again, physically imposing, but then you see that long speed. If you don't take the right angle on a guy like Jeremiah McClellan, he's going to run right by you. And he has that physical nature as well, and you're going to see that dealing with a little press coverage, just kind of shucks the guy off, and then we're going to go track this football. And so you're getting a physically imposing wide receiver that has a ton of long speed, that's really good with the football in his hands. There's a reason this guy was a top 50 national prospect in the country. And there's a reason that Ohio State, when they can go out and get pretty much any wide receiver they want, they went after a guy like Jeremiah McClellan. Very big fan of Jeremiah McClellan. I would encourage a lot of Oregon fans to go check out the huddle because this guy is a very fun player. But we got to talk about another commitment that I really like. And again, National Signing Day is going to get a lot of attention. Kobe Savage is a player that the value that Evan Williams brought to Oregon last year on defense was massive. Kobe Savage, I think, kind of comes in and plays that role. But checking out the film from Kansas State, I think he's a little bit better in coverage. And right, Evan Williams was awesome for the Oregon Ducks. Maybe left a little bit to be desired in terms of what he could do in coverage. Kobe Savage, that safety that can play in the box, that can be really good in coverage, kind of the best of both worlds. And two things that stand out to me with Kobe Savage. One, through 2 seasons at Kansas State, extremely productive and a playmaker, right? 115 tackles, 6.5 tackles for a loss, 6 interceptions, 3 in 2022, 3 in 2023. So this guy is a difference maker in terms of making those game-changing plays on defense. But the thing I love the most is two things. One, in a world of college football, even in the Big Ten, that teams are trying to spread you out and get as much speed on the field as possible. If you have the ability to match that speed and athleticism, but also have the ability to stop the run, that is a massive asset to a defense. And a guy like Kobe Savage allows you to have speed and athleticism, but not giving up too much in the run game. This is a hammer in the run game, had 14 run stops in 2023 in the similar value that Evan Williams brought, being a versatile defender that can play in man coverage, can drop back as a deep safety, but also be very good in the tackle box, getting behind the line of scrimmage. Kobe Savage coming in and seemingly kind of just playing that role. And I think Dan Lanning and Lupoy kind of looked at the value Evan Williams brought and said, all right, we got to go replace that. I mean, there's not a better guy in this class than Kobe Savage to do that. You look at how versatile he is, and again, kind of going back to, you want to have a defense that you can give a lot of different looks, a lot of different personnel groupings, and kind of confuse offenses and give them a lot of different looks. Kobe Savage allows you to do that. 284 snaps in the box, 164 as that slot nickel role, and then another 250 as that deep free safety. So this is a guy that's versatile, allows you to do a lot of different things for on the defensive side of the ball for the Oregon Ducks. When you combine the speed, the athleticism, and the physicality that Kobe Savage brings, this is a difference maker for the Oregon Ducks defense. And again, I see him being used very similarly to Evan Williams. And you take a look at what Oregon's doing, and we'll talk about what they're doing in the high school class first and then talk about the transfer portal. Huge fan of what they're doing. And we said the Oregon Ducks, I think, to take that next step, especially going into the Big Ten, and to kind of really realize the value of that Dan Lanning defense, you need difference makers along the line of scrimmage. And that's probably where Oregon fell short. You look to the games where they lost, especially in the Pac-12 championship game, maybe not enough difference makers, disruptors along the line of scrimmage. You have some guys coming in that 2023 class that flashed. In 2024, this is what you're most excited about, right? Aiden Breland, Elijah Rushing, two of the best players along the defensive line of scrimmage that were available in the class, right? Aiden Breland playing on that inside, the blend of size and athleticism that he brings is a reason he's a 5-star, according to every single recruiting service you look at. And then Elijah Rushing, 6'6", 250, a ton of length and a ton of traits as an edge rusher. You're getting an elite guy on the inside. You're getting an elite guy on the outside. And you scroll down this list, Oregon just bringing in a very, very good class, a couple studs in the back end, some guys on the offensive line like Fox Crater who signed. And then you go down to the transfer portal. And what they're doing in the portal is just as impressive. And you're seeing Dan Lanning and doing something that not a ton of college football coaches and programs, I think, have done a great job of. And that is balancing. We're going to continue to bring in really good high school classes because that's the meat of our roster, but we're going to supplement it with really good transfers that are going to add value to our team. Kobe Savage, a guy that's going to be a day one starter, I think, in this Oregon defense. A guy like Jay Harris, I don't know if he's going to be a starter because this running back room is awfully loaded with guys like Jordan James and Noah Whittington coming back. 6'2", 215 coming from the Division II level. We've seen a guy like Cody Schrader at Missouri make that jump from Division II to Division I and absolutely light the SEC on fire. We'll see how Jay Harris kind of progresses, but 6'2", 215, checked out his stats, 250 carries for over 1,400 yards. This is a guy that's been extremely productive, has a lot of experience at the Division II level, going to add some depth into that running back room. And then you look down at the quarterback spots, and this is where I think Oregon just knocked it out of the park. And we've kind of dug into this, so we won't go too far into it. But when you have the ability to get a seasoned veteran like Dylan Gabriel, who you feel extremely confident going into the first year of the Big Ten leading this offense, I think his skill sets really fit what Will Stein wants to do in terms of getting the football out quick, being accurate and on time. Dylan Gabriel, massive get. Feel really good about him starting in 2024. And then you have the ability to land one of the most talented quarterbacks in the 2023 class in Dante Moore as the future of that quarterback room. That's exactly how you want your quarterback room to look. an experienced guy that you know is going to be a quality starter in 2024, and then a guy like Dante Moore who's waiting in the wings and is going to be such a good quarterback. And again, Will Stein, this Oregon staff, a proven track record with putting quarterbacks in good positions. Obviously, with what they did with Bo Nix last year. And so, one, I think Dante Moore certainly could be a starter in 2024. We'll see how that quarterback competition plays out. But at the very least, you know that you're getting a high floor with Dylan Gabriel and an extraordinary high ceiling with Dante Moore. You take a look at the high school class. You take a look at what they're doing in the transfer portal, the Oregon Ducks. This is a program that, I mean, most college football fans are looking at this program as like, the stock's going up. The stock was already pretty high. The stock is continuing to go up for Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Wanted to hop on, talk about a massive flip in the 2024 class, massive get in the transfer portal in Kobe Savage. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.